Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com, and today I want to talk to you about a quote from Elon Musk. If you don't know who Elon Musk is, he's one of the world's richest men. He's a billionaire. He has started companies from co-founding PayPal, founding SpaceX, Tesla, and a variety of other businesses, the Boring Company, and many other things. And in the future, of course, there'll be many more. But one of the things that is interesting is that his work ethic is not like, because some of these billionaires are very old, and Elon Musk is not old, he's a young man still, but they're in retirement phase. So they're relaxing on islands and doing very little. And sometimes people look at that and think that's the way to become a billionaire. But it ignores all the hard work up to that point. For example, Bill Gates was coding for 18, 20-hour days, not taking any days off. He was constantly working. So he was not a lazy man that just sat around and have other people do his work for him. Many of these billionaires put in ridiculously long hours. Some still do to this day, and Elon Musk is one of those people. And so when he's suggesting and giving advice about working harder, it's not advice that he's not taking himself. He's just telling all the little people to do this. Meanwhile, he's laying around doing nothing all day. That's not the case at all. And so I want you to listen to this response he has when he's asked about what kind of advice would he give to an entrepreneur. And I think the response, if you'll take it to heart, will absolutely be a blessing for you.
Well, first of all, I really need to give some thought to how can I provide advice that would be most helpful, and I'm not sure I've given enough thought to that to give you the best possible answer. But I think certainly being focused on something that you're confident will have high value to someone else, and just being really rigorous in making that assessment, because people tend to, a natural human tendency is wishful thinking. A challenge for entrepreneurs is to say, well, what's the difference between really believing in your ideals and sticking to them versus pursuing some unrealistic dream that doesn't actually have merit? And that is a really difficult thing to tell. Can you tell the difference between those two things? So you need to be sort of very rigorous in your self-analysis. I think certainly extremely tenacious, and then just work you just have to put in, 80 to 100 hour weeks every week. All those things improve the odds of success. If other people are putting in 40-hour work weeks and you're putting in 100-hour work weeks, then even if you're doing the same thing, you know that in 1 year you will achieve what they achieve. You will achieve in 4 months what it takes them a year to achieve.
Now, the math doesn't lie on this. As he said, and I've mentioned this before and been mentioning this for years, and so many other people before us have mentioned this, that when you're doing that 80-hour work week or 100-hour work week, and other people are doing 30 or 40, you are doing laps around them. Now, obviously not comparing yourself with them, but the point is, if you're quote-unquote competitors or working 40-hour weeks and you're working 80-hour week, even if you perform 25 or 30% worse than they do, you're going to be making strides infinitely better than they will. And sometimes it's an extra little bit that is the difference between a mediocre life and the life of a billionaire. Many people are waiting to the future to start working harder. Do you think if you're young and you're not working hard, that you're going to somehow get the energy when you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s? No, you're not. The problem is many people just keep going downhill. Work is not a bad thing. You have to resolve your mind to the truth that work is good. Work is ennobling. Work is a blessing. Think if you didn't have a job, if you didn't have a business, if you didn't have the ability to work. Think if you were bedbound. Now, you don't have to go to that extreme, but the point is, you have a great blessing before you and you treat it as if it's a curse. But the real curse is not working. The real curse is not having the fortitude within you to work and do the hard thing that sometimes you don't want to do, or sometimes you'd rather be doing something else. But you do it because it's the right thing to do, because what you're doing under the Lord, and no one's going to outwork you. That's one of the things I know. If I have any competition, at least in their eyes, they view themselves as competition because I'm on a different level, they're not going to outwork me. It just isn't going to happen. And that, coupled with the fact that I'm going to do things intelligently, I'm going to get many times, hundreds of times more productivity out of my life than they're getting. And that's not to go, oh, I'm going to compare myself with these people over here and make myself feel better. It's not like that at all. But I want my life to be the fullest, the best it possibly can be, whatever that may be. Now, I don't know where you're at or what you can do. You may not even know that. Many people have never even tested themselves. They've never put themselves to the fullest and tried to get the best out of themselves. And it may be because someone told you couldn't do this, or you weren't smart enough, or you weren't strong enough, or you were too lazy, or whatever they told you. None of that's true. Laziness is because you don't have proper motivation. So if you're resting on laziness as your reason for why you don't do more, it just isn't the case. When you don't have a worthy goal to go after, and one of those things could be just simply that you're going to do your work under the Lord. That could be your only goal. Doesn't have to be having millions of dollars or billions of dollars or feeding the world or anything like that. And those could all be great goals to have, but it doesn't even have to be that. It can be very simple. Just, I'm going to do whatever I do under the Lord. I'm going to use my energy to the best of my ability to become the best I possibly can be. End of story. No excuses, no faults, no, well, somebody told me when I was in third grade I couldn't do this. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to improve in every area I can. In the areas where I'm not good, I'm going to let other people do that. I'm going to do the things I'm good and expand upon that, and I'm going to be the best I possibly can be. And that's it. If you'll take that approach, coupled with long hours and hard work, and I know people don't want to hear that, and yet I don't know a single person who came from nothing and worked their way up to riches that didn't work long, hard hours. But they enjoyed it because they had noble goals. They had things they were shooting for. It wasn't just working to get money. It wasn't just working to say that you work 16-hour days, to pat yourself on the back or brag to someone. It wasn't to compare yourself with somebody else who was not working as much as you. It was so that you could be the best you possibly could be. Now, you can look at other people and see how they live their lives, and that can be an example for what not to do, because the average person is not doing the things you want to do, because if they were, then their lives would be representative of what you want. And I guarantee you they're not. The people who have the lives that you want, that have the freedom to do what they want and live how they want, are still working 80-hour work weeks. They're still invested in their goals and dreams and achieving more each and every day. And my friend, that should be you. God didn't put you on this planet to be mediocre, to be average, to be like everyone else. There's so few actual Christians on the planet. I know there's tons of people going to churches and calling themselves Christians because they were born into a supposed Christian family. I'm talking about people who actually follow Jesus. There's so few of them. They should be radiant, bright, shining stars, light to the world, in work ethic, in righteousness, in true holiness. There shouldn't be people of the world outworking the righteous. It just shouldn't happen. It's shameful. It's embarrassing. It's pathetic. My friend, there is nothing holding you back. Now, if you feel like you don't have the energy or you don't have the know-how, seek God. He'll give you wisdom liberally. If you'll believe and confidently ask, He'll give you the wisdom on how to do it, how to improve your energy. And I've told people this many times and they don't want to hear it, but the reality is you have to change your diet. Get rid of that trash diet, the Western diet, and the diet that's kind of all over the world of processed foods and all this junk. Get yourself on a good, honest, ethical vegan diet, eating plants that will nourish your body, cut down on obviously the processed foods to a minimum, and you'll have way more energy. And then stop looking for excuses. Sometimes the energy or lack thereof is simply in your mind because you've told yourself so often that you don't have energy, or that after noon my energy starts going down. Well, a lot of that time is because at noon, what do? You go to lunch, you eat a garbage meal that your body's not designed to eat, either dead flesh or dairy or all these things that your body was not designed to process. So your body's having to process that food that it shouldn't be eating in the first place. And your body gets worn down and you're tired throughout the day and less productive. That's not the way you want to go through life. My friend, you can do more. You can be more. And God's hand of blessing is right on you, waiting for you to take that step. And I want to encourage you. I have a book I wrote called You May Be Broke, But You Deserve to Be Rich. In that book, I go through a number of details things that really hinder people from being who they can really be. And I believe every Christian should be rich because the scripture makes it very plain that Jesus, while he was rich, he became poor, that we through his poverty being relatively speaking from being the one who created everything to being a man, that we through his poverty might be made rich. My friend, you are not called to poverty. You're not called to weakness. You're not called to mediocrity. You're called to greatness. You're called to be rich. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.